Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and if you are an Uber rider, not a driver, a rider, then I've got some potentially good news. You can get a cheaper Uber ride if you are willing to wait and in some markets, because this is a new experiment that Uber is toying around with. According to Quartz, good things come to those who wait for their Uber. The ride-hailing company has started testing a feature that gives riders the option to trade a shorter wait for a cheaper fare. Quote, prices are lower at 1,700 hours, Uber recently advised an Uber employee who requested a ride in Berkeley, California, and tweeted a screenshot of the feature. The image showed the Uber employee that he could request a ride now, which is about 4:56 p.m., for $10.18, or they could wait until 5 p.m. and pay $8.15, about 25% less. Quote, if you're okay leaving later, we'll request your ride at $1,500 for a lower price, Uber's app stated. Update, the tweet was deleted shortly after Quartz published the story, but you can view an archived version here. And this is what it looks like, apparently, and allegedly, because for legal reasons, we have to say that. Where, yep, if you request it now, $10.18, or you can request it 1,500 hours and $8.15. That's like a 5-minute wait. And let's see here. Yep, the time is 1,656. So yep, about a 4 or 5 minute wait. They could save 25%. Heck, if it was me, yeah, I'd wait 5 minutes to save 25%. But why are Uber doing this? Let's continue. The option to wait longer in exchange for a cheaper ride is being tested among all Uber employees in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Great. A company spokesperson told Quartz in email, quote, affordability is a top reason riders choose shared rides, and we're internally experimenting with a way to save money in exchange for a later pickup. Yeah, but the other major reason is the convenience factor. I mean, actually, we're at the point where Uber could charge more money than the taxi, in my opinion. And they still wouldn't take a taxi because it's so inconvenient to call the taxi, hope they show up, whereas you can press a button and they're showing up. So, I mean, cheap definitely helps. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but we're at the point now where the convenience, I think, is more of a factor than the price. But let's continue. Uber constantly varies its prices, a system known as dynamic pricing. Much like timing the market, attempting to book an Uber at the lowest price can be an ill-fated gamble. Waiting a couple minutes before booking can lead to a price that is either dramatically higher or lower. The exact science behind Uber's fares has also become more obscure since summer 2016, when the company quietly switched from the old model where it flagged surge pricing to users to one in which it quoted them the ride price up front at the time of booking. This quote-unquote upfront pricing model allowed Uber to charge the rider one price and pay the driver based on another. A 2017 analyst by driver blog The Rideshare Guide showed the math tended to work out in Uber's favor. You know, we need to pause here for just a second. Just a second. We need to pause here and we need to really look at this. We have to seriously look at this and take it in. This may be the first time I have seen an article written about Uber and the passengers and money that actually acknowledges not only what the upfront pricing is, but that the drivers are getting screwed. It doesn't actually say that, but it admits that the rider is being charged one price, but the driver is getting paid something else. And this is something that a lot of riders don't understand. And the reason they should care is because if they are being charged one thing and the driver's being paid significantly less, under what everyone agreed to, the rider is getting seriously overcharged. And that needs to stop. Or the driver needs to get paid more. Either way, it works for me. So whoever wrote this Quartz article, I'd like to thank them for actually taking the time to acknowledge this problem, which a lot of journalists, frankly, are not doing, because writers want to act like, oh, well, I know how much it costs, and nobody stops to think, yeah, I know how much it costs, but is it worth knowing what it costs if I am paying more on every single trip? I mean, yeah, I understand getting screwed on a huge surge long trip. However, if I'm getting overcharged on every trip, I think I'll take it and screw that once in a while blue moon thing, especially if, basically there's a math equation I can figure out. Now let's continue. The company has said fluctuations in dynamic pricing reflect real-time changes in driver demand, rider availability, and other variable conditions such as traffic. But the information as an economist, sorry, I can't believe I had a hard time reading that. Economist would say is asymmetric. I hope I pronounced that correctly. At any given moment, the driver and the rider know far less about the fare, whether it's relatively high or low or liable to swing up and down than Uber does. Okay, I want to pause again. I am very impressed with this because here's the thing. This article is about how riders can get a cheaper fare, and that is what we are ultimately going to be talking about. But they are taking time to acknowledge Uber controls the pricing. We don't really know how it works. When there is upfront pricing involved, neither the rider nor the driver truly knows what the fare is or what it's supposed to be. And that's not fair for anyone. Uber has raised prices for riders in some of its largest U.S. markets this year, responding to a tighter labor market, higher gas prices, and widespread frustration among drivers. Quote, "We have to make driving for Uber more attractive because the alternatives are becoming more attractive," CEO Darke said at a technology conference outside of Los Angeles in late May, which I agree with, by the way. But wary of alienating passengers with higher prices, Uber is also working on several ultra-cheap ride options. These include Express Pool, a version of Uber's shared Uber pool that asks the rider to walk to a nearby street corner with the goal of picking up multiple people at once. I think I know where this is going, by the way, but let's continue. Uber has poured tons of money into pool discounts in an effort to get more people to share their rides. Dara said at the conference that Uber was spending, quote, hundreds of millions of dollars on pool. Quote, "A very important push for us is to innovate to lower cost." Yeah, but the thing is, you're not lowering the cost. You're taking more for yourself, and you're expecting us to cover everything with lower pay. That's the only innovation to lower cost that I see. Offering riders longer wait times in exchange for cheaper rides is another way Uber could keep prices low for the most price-sensitive customers. It's also a strategy that makes a lot of sense. Uber tends to charge more when lots of people in the same area request a ride at the same time. Demand is off the charts, as the old surge price warning went. One function of those higher prices is to attract more drivers to the area, thereby evening out supply and demand. You can look at the option Uber is testing among employees now as the inverse approach. Instead of charging customers more to get a ride now when the demand is high, Uber tells them they can pay less if they're willing to wait, shifting some of that demand to the future. Uber declined to provide additional details on the test. For example, how long a rider might be asked to wait in exchange for what discount. For a company that operates on Uber scale, which is 4 billion rides across 600 cities in 2017 alone, being able to move little bits of demand, even by just a few minutes, could be a powerful tool to keeping lows fair and wait times short. Uber co-founder and former CEO Travis Kalanick used to talk about how the point of surge pricing was to keep Uber reliable. Quote, "Higher prices are required in order to get cars on the road and keep them on the road during the busiest times. This maximizes the number of trips and minimizes the number of people stranded." The implicit assumption was that Uber customers want to ride as fast as they could get one, whatever it might cost. The system being tested now, on the other hand, acknowledges a different kind of rider. Someone for whom saving a little time is less valuable than saving a little money. So, yeah, there's two reasons why. Let's go back to this because, yeah, let's just look at that for a little while. Yeah, I think there's two key reasons, and they hit on one of them. And the first one is, of course, surge. Uber wants to kill the surge. They've wanted to for a long time. Keep in mind, as little as 2 years ago, there was that memo that leaked from Uber that said, and I believe I'm quoting this correctly, Uber is a marketing failure that needs to be solved. And we've seen them do as many things as they can to solve that problem. That includes letting a lot of drivers on the road to where there's almost more drivers than there are demand. This includes letting some cars that normally would not have qualified for Uber to qualify. Then we have the upfront surge pricing, that where they're manipulating the surge and you don't know what's going on. Then you have the little ping notifications where it's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of demand in this area at this time, consider going there. But they don't give that same information to all the drivers. Drivers get different information to try to encourage the drivers to spread out to the busy areas throughout the night, thus eliminating the chance for a higher surge. Then, of course, you have this. You have a lot of people will say, like right now for this guy, it was 5 minutes. But some people's like, hey, wait 30 minutes, you might save 40% of your ride. Well then, of course, why wouldn't you wait 30 minutes to save 40% of your ride? And that makes, that spreads out the demand. It's pretty genius. Here's the other reason though. And you see this with Pool, Express Pool. Uber does want to take over public transportation. Now, why they want to do this, I don't know. There's no money in public transportation. Look it up if you want. It's really complicated. But the bottom line, it's government funded and public for a reason. Because no one in their right mind would try to make money from it. But Uber does. And when you start delaying the rides, you start timing the rides, it starts getting into like a little bus-like system where it's like they start putting the cars through a rotation. And it ends up, how should I put this? Yeah, it makes it kind of like a timed bus. It really does. So, yeah, the two main reasons they would want to do this is to kill the surge more and to make it more like a bus. Now, for those of you who just want to keep moving, maybe this would be a good thing. It could be. If you just like to keep moving, then the rides will also be spread out, and therefore there is pretty much always a chance of you getting a ride. Not that there isn't much of a chance of you not getting a ride at this point, but there's even a better chance of you getting a ride. But another thing, and I don't know, again, and this is probably why they were smart to mention the upfront pricing, because Uber screws with the pricing all the time. They do. So, will you be losing any money on this? Will Uber be paying you less? And the answer is probably not. In fact, Uber might lose out more on this. I think what's giving Uber the ability to give huge discounts on these rides is that they're already overcharging. The upfront pricing, they are charging more than what the ride is worth. So, when someone chooses the later the later ride time, and they get the discounted fare, that is actually what the ride is worth. So the drivers likely will not be making any less money on this. But again, the key thing is that by spreading out the demand, it might also lower the surge and make it more like public transportation, which for some reason Uber wants. Even though, again, no business in their right mind would want to become public transportation. It's public for a reason. But that said, this is merely speculation, and I would be really curious to know what your thoughts are. In fact, this might make an interesting podcast subject, I think. So, comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, but even as little as $1 a month can go a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.